I just had this conversation yesterday and then it came up again today. So I figured we would have it here. And that's about hiring and when to hire in your business and how to understand when it's time for that. So, right now, I am recording a video. I have someone who's editing my videos that I've just been recording, and I have someone who's in my Kajabi platform I use who is creating my community for my mastermind. And also, I don't know if they're working on it right now, but I have somebody who is building my story brand and doing a ton of different stuff behind the scenes to build my brand and also my upcoming website. So, why do I share all of that? Because about 6 months ago, I was doing all of this myself. This whole thing, this whole ship was running by everything I did. I made every single worksheet, I made every single course, everything that went into my platforms. I was doing every video was edited by me very terribly, I might add. And everything was just as good as I could get it, right? Just as basic as it could be, just to be able to get it out there. So all of my social media, all of these different aspects, everything was done by me, and I was exhausted. I was homeschooling all my 4 kids. I was running this business. I was showing up to every one-to-one call, every group program. I was creating new course after course after course. I was creating all the images. So I know you can relate, right? You can go on. If you have a business, I don't even need to be telling you this. You know exactly what I'm talking about. All the networking, all the different things. Everything was happening at my hands, and it was exhausting. But about 6 months ago, I hit this point where I thought, I can't do this by myself anymore. I had to have a really honest conversation with myself and say, if I want to reach the next level of success in this business, if I want this business to grow to the level that I want it to, I'm going to have to stop doing everything on my own. I'm going to have to hire. So I had to address a couple of different fears there. And I think that we all have different fears when it comes to hiring. So I want to go into a couple of those different things and some of the stories I was telling myself, how I moved through it, and also how I have worked with clients to move through their fear of hiring as well. And for me, it's the really funny one is that I had convinced I'm not organized at all. Like, I'm not an organized person. I have amazing ideas. The idea comes and then I go and execute the idea very quickly. I work rapidly, but it also means I jump from project to project to project because one project gets boring. And so, hey, let's get into the next one, right? And so that has been how I ran this business. One thing to note is that that is also what's made me successful in my business. So up until this point, it was fine, but it's not sustainable, right? Being able to be creative and put things out there is not a bad thing. It helped me get a very deep understanding of what my audience wanted. It helped me increase my skills and knowledge and ability to deliver what they wanted as well and do it very quickly. So it's not that it was a bad thing, but it was something that wasn't sustainable. And I know you want to create a sustainable business, and I want to create a sustainable business. So about 6 months ago, I realized I have to hire out. It's just something that's going to have to be done. So let me do it. So I started to look around, and I happen to know somebody who's phenomenal strategist who does all the things on the back end. And that is where I started. So I said, absolutely, yes, I need that work done. But it's not really about where I decided to start. It was about what I decided to let go of, right? So I am not an organized person, getting back to that, right? So I'm not super organized and I don't stay on top of things, and I just create to get things done. So I told myself this story that I can't have anyone else helping me in my business because I don't even know what I'm going to do next. And as soon as I said that, I thought, that's a real problem. If I don't know what I'm going to do next, that's a huge problem for me to be able to sustain and scale this business. So I had to have a real honest conversation with myself. And I'm like, do I want this to grow? Yes, I do. Well, then to scale it, I'm going to have to be able to explain what I'm going to do next. I can't just have an idea and execute it the next day and think everyone's going to be on board. So I had to be really honest with myself and let that story go. And the real truth is that I can be organized. I can plan ahead. I don't like it necessarily, but is it necessary for my business growth? Yes. So am I going to do it? Absolutely. Have I been doing it? Yes. Have I been doing it in my own way? Am I still spontaneous? Do I still have a lot of creative ideas that I need to execute? Yes. But am I planning ahead? Am I allowing that for somebody else to do that work? So I had to come to terms with the story. So if you're looking to hire right now, you have to understand the stories that are coming up for you. Now, the other one is I can do it all by myself. I can sustain this all by myself. I can save myself money if I do it by myself. And that is a really funny one. And that is true, right? I didn't need to hire, a year or 2 years ago. So that is true. I didn't need to hire a year or 2 years ago. I needed to hire when I got to a certain point, and I had to realize that I was only going to make the amount of money that I was making right then unless I hired. And that was a huge thing for me to realize. I will only make this amount unless I hire. And a side note for that, I also am hiring somebody we homeschool our kids. They're now going to a hybrid program. And on the days they're not at their hybrid program, like in person, then we've hired someone to be their teacher. So I also had to realize that I can't do that anymore. And that's okay. That came and that went, and that was a part of my life. And it's wonderful, but it's time for our relationship and lots of other things for me to move on. So I had to hire that out, which was a huge thing for me. And so not only am I hiring actual tangible things in my business for people to edit my videos and do my back office things, but also to help me care for my children. And that looks different for everybody. And so you have to be willing to be honest with yourself and ask yourself questions. What am I scared of? And what do I need to address? And so for me, it was this getting over this idea that I had to do everything myself, that I was the only one that could do all of these things, and that it saved us so much money by doing this. But if I really look at it, it cost us a lot of money because I spun in circles a lot. I wasted a lot of time and energy on things that didn't move forward because I also didn't have people in my life to say, I don't know if that's the best way to do it. So I had to redo a lot of things. So it actually cost me a lot of money and progression and momentum by doing that. And it also led to a lot of my own burnouts. I burnt out very quickly. I stopped a lot because I got so overwhelmed. I thought, how am I supposed to do this? How am I supposed to homeschool my kids, run my family, manage all of this, grow this $1 million business? How am I supposed to do all of this on my own? And so the thing that I would quit would be my business, and not quit like completely, but the thing that I'd pull back on. Right, I would make a shift. I would try to find an easier way. And so that cost me money. And so it was actually costing us growth. And so when you're not having these hard conversations, then that is something that you're going to miss. Now, for a lot of people, they feel like their business is their baby. I don't feel that way with my business. So I don't mind giving other people tasks, and I don't mind the delegation part. So that's not on me. But that is a big thing of why people do not hire out, because they feel this really personal attachment to their business and they think nobody can do it better than me. And I have a strong feeling that if I know what I'm doing in my business, and I can share with you how I want you to do it as well. And I'm going to trust my instincts and my intuition to say that you're the right person to hire. I will say I did hire someone along the way who was not the right person. And so that was like a whole thing, a whole learning curve on learning how to execute that like dissolution of that service. But with that, I also knew when I hired her that she wasn't the right person for me, but I did it anyway because I was looking for ease. And so don't overlook your intuition because you think something's going to be easier, because it might actually bring a little bit things that are a little bit harder into your life. So follow your intuition when you're hiring, another really important part. So to wrap this up, you absolutely have to be questioning why you are not hiring. So if you have the thought to hire, then you have to ask yourself, is it too soon for me to do it? Should I be hiring? What would that look like? What am I scared of? And how do I shift my relationship with that? Now, if you're just beginning, you do not need to hire everything out. You need to learn and you need to do the things. You need to learn how to send your emails. You need to learn how to build your images. You need to get really familiar with these things so you also know what you like. So it's not really important to hire everything out at the very beginning, but it's when you're in this growth stage and you say, is it costing me more money now not to hire than the money I would have to spend to hire somebody? And when that answer is it costs me more not to have someone on my team, then that's when you know it's time to hire. And then you can start to explore what's the best thing, what's the thing that's going to save you the most time, and also it's the thing that you don't like the most. And then you can start to put that out and you can have other people do that. But I think that's a really important conversation, and one that we don't have that often, because when we're a little bit scared, especially if it's money, we think, I don't want to have this conversation because I don't want people to think that I can't afford it. I want to have this presentation that I'm capable and able to hire. And so that's a big thing too. Just have the conversations with yourself or somebody that you trust and say, what would that look like if I did? What would it free up? And how could I explode my business if I brought people on my team? It's really magical. I can't wait for you to do this exploration. And I am so excited to hear. Are you at the stage to hire? What was the first thing you hired out? Let's start that conversation because it's so helpful for people to know and get ideas of what the first thing you hired out was. What was it that you needed to delegate? Let's have that conversation.